So you're separated from your spouse, and one day they call you and say to you that they want to talk to you face to face. Of course, you're thinking the worst, because why would they want to talk to you face to face? What can they possibly say or not say over the phone or through text message? But you agree to the meeting anyway. So you think about it. You don't really want to be out because really don't want to make a scene. Or maybe you do. Maybe you're one of those people who don't mind making a scene. But maybe you're one of those people who don't want to make a scene. So you don't want to go out to a crowded place. Then maybe you really don't want to go to their place because, again, depending on what they have to say, you don't really want to be the one driving home. So you make the decision to ask them or to say, hey, come to my place, or ask them if it's okay if they just come to your place. And they agree. So you might clean up, take a shower, put on their favorite perfume. You want to look sexy, but not too sexy. Again, depending on the conversation. But at the same time, you want to be like, okay, you walk away, this is what you're going to miss. And also, you don't want to put it out there that they're expecting anything. So your husband comes over or your spouse comes over and you guys are laughing, talking, maybe you order some food. You guys have like the best night that you guys haven't had in months. Then it leads to a little bit more. Maybe you start kissing, maybe you start touching, and you remember how it used to be and what it was like being with your spouse. So things starting to get a little heavy. Your next thought is, should you or shouldn't you? What do you do? What's good, y'all? Tasha here. Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome. You guys can see I'm in a different location. I'm actually just in my backyard. I'm in my patio. Just wanted to do just a different location. My allergies is acting up. I really shouldn't be outside, but it is what it is. So anyway, this situation may or may not happen, but I know that it's a question that comes up for a lot of people. It's like, even though you're separated from your spouse, should you be intimate with your spouse or should you not be intimate with your spouse? And the quick answer to that, honestly, is it's your spouse. You know, it depends on your relationship. It depends on where you're at while you're separated. So for some people, they may say, keep being intimate with your spouse. It's your spouse. But some people may say you're separated and you're probably going to get a divorce. So why would you want to be intimate with someone that you're not going to be with anymore? And I know some of you probably wish that someone would just give you the answer, should you or shouldn't you? But the problem is, the reason why every time you ask somebody for advice, why the advice is so different is because we are all taking the information that you're giving to us and we're putting it through our lens. What we would do in that situation, or maybe we did that and it didn't work out, or maybe we did it and it did work out. So that's why I always say, like, when people ask me questions like, should you or shouldn't you? It depends, because it depends on you and it depends on your situation. And that's why in this video, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of being intimate with your spouse while you're separated. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Was I intimate with my husband when we were separated? Yeah, I was. And it wasn't, for me, it wasn't because I was trying to keep him through sex. Because in all honesty, and most of us have lived this, you can't keep anybody with sex because eventually it's going to get old. So you don't want to have any relationship based off of just the physical. But I wanted to be with my husband because it was my husband. And for me, there was no one else that I felt like I could just have that connection with. But honestly, in the beginning of our separation, we didn't. We were too hurt. We were too angry. There was just way too much going on for us to even want to be physical with one another, for us to even just want to be that way with each other. Like, it took us a while for us to even get to that point. And it was one of those nights where he came over, we were watching a movie, we were having a good time, we were talking like we did before. And of course, one thing led to another. And for some of you, making love can either help or can actually harm your relationship. So let's just get into the pros and cons of what could happen if you ended up being intimate with your spouse while you guys were separated. Pro, intimacy can actually save your marriage. Being intimate with your spouse, it just creates a bond with them. And honestly, some people even have better sex when they're separated. You might even find yourself open to new things that you didn't do before, even in your marriage. But while you're separated, because you want your spouse back, and maybe because you want to have a little fun too, you might even try things that you never thought that you would try. And there is dangers to that. There is dangers to trying new things when you're separated, because if there's stuff that you're not willing to keep up with, I wouldn't even do it. Wouldn't even try it. If you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to do this thing because I know he likes it and I know that they're going to come back home, probably wouldn't even do it. Because like I said, if you can't keep it up, it's going to cause problems in that department of your relationship. But honestly, being intimate with your spouse can actually bring you two closer again, because it will relieve stress and probably a little bit of anger that might have been built up. And it may even help you relieve some of that anxiety that you might have been having about the separation. But that also brings me to a con. Being intimate with your spouse can also create false hope. And that's why I said you have to know what's going on in your marriage. You have to know what's going on with your separation. Because if you or your spouse have really made the decision to not save the marriage, being intimate will, like I said, create that false hope in the person that actually wants to save the marriage. And even if you think, well, it could just be what it is, just us being intimate. Well, that's your spouse. And there was a reason why you married that person. The feelings, even if right now they're covered in anger and anxiety and, being upset and just all those negative feelings, that you still love your spouse. And being intimate will bring some of those feelings back, regardless of how angry you are. And if you end up not talking to your spouse about the intimacy or about what you guys are doing, one of you can end up being disappointed. Now, for some couples, if the problem in the marriage was lack of intimacy, sometimes being separated can help, because you want your spouse. You're not with them every day. You don't see them every day. So every time that you see your spouse in the separation, you're going to want to be with your spouse. But again, what's going to happen if you guys decide, because of this new intimacy, that you guys are going to try to work on your marriage? Are you going to keep up what you're doing? Or once you guys get back together, is it going to go back to the way things were before, where intimacy was probably sparse? Either way, you have to make sure that you're doing everything for the right reasons. Or like I said, one of you are going to end up being disappointed. Now, if your spouse is with someone else, they have a boyfriend, they have a girlfriend, but they're still wanting to sleep with you, this is just my opinion, I really think that you need to think twice about being intimate with your spouse. Only because you really don't know what they're doing. And I mean this because you really don't know what that relationship is, and you really don't even know what their partner is doing. So if your spouse has another partner, and let's say they're with them and they're not using protection, now they're with you, probably not using protection because that's your spouse. And again, who's to say that their partner is faithful? To me, it's just a recipe for disaster. It's very dangerous, because if nobody's using protection and all you guys are intimate with each other, you don't know who's giving who what. And you just have to be very cautious, because you don't really know what's going on. As much as your spouse may be telling you about this other person, or if you're speaking about it and you're having conversations, it doesn't mean that they're giving you the whole truth. And of course, we want to believe our spouse. Let me let my dog in. Hold on. You want to go inside? But some people may think that this is actually a good strategy, that they look at their spouse's partner as competition. And so what they're going to try to do is do things that they know their spouse likes in order to make their spouse want to come back home. But again, as I said earlier, what happens when you do get your spouse back? Are you going to keep doing those things that you were doing while you were separated? If your spouse is used to getting it on a regular basis because that's what you thought was the right thing to do, and then they come home and now they're not getting it on a regular basis, what do you think that they're going to do? And for me, I just think that you might just be prolonging the inevitable. And another thing, with your spouse being with someone else, they might have experienced some new things being in this new relationship that they might like. Are you willing to maybe do some new things that they may like? Will you be comfortable with probably these new things that your spouse may now like? And there might be some things that you're not willing to do, and that's going to cause some disappointment in your marriage as well. All in all, it's your choice. It's your marriage, but you have to do it for the right reasons, regardless if the person is your spouse. You have to understand what this choice can do for yourself and your marriage. And you also have to think, if you don't make the choice, if you do or if you don't, what is it going to do for you? And what is it going to do for your marriage? I know this video probably just made you even more confused, but you have to weigh the pros and cons by looking at your relationship in its current state. For me and for my marriage, being intimate was the best choice because it made me and my husband see what we were missing and that we enjoyed being with each other. And for us, it wasn't just the sex. It was our connection. It was what being intimate with each other in that way did for us. And for both of us, it made us realize that there is nobody else in this world that we would want to do life with. I mean, could I be with somebody else? Yes, of course. But I truly believe that I would not have the same connection with another person that I have with my husband. And I really do hope and pray that all of you can find that connection, because really in our marriage, that's the most important thing, connection. Because I feel like the stronger the connection that we have with each other, the longer you could be in a relationship. You'll be able to get to 40, 50, 60 years with just a strong connection. It's not even about the intimacy. It's about that connection that you have with one another. I'm holding my camera, so I know it's probably a little bit shaky, and I do apologize for that, but I really hope that you guys enjoyed the different background for once. Again, I really hope that this video had brought you guys some value. Like this video if you like it. Subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. And remember, love yourself, adore yourself, and as always, be yourself. Thank you, and I hope I get to see you guys in my next video.